Hello and welcome to the Cheap Gear Review Things That Hold Other Things Extravaganza Part 2. My name is Tim and I'd like to begin by talking to you about tripods. This is the Velbon Videomate 607 fluid head tripod. Goes for about 80 bucks online, holds about 15 pounds, weighs about 4 to 5 pounds itself, and like I said, it features a nice fluid head for nice smooth pans and tilts. What's a fluid head, you ask? And you call yourself a videographer? Well, I guess you don't call yourself a videographer. Well, I'll tell you anyway. Here is a non-fluid head tripod. In fact, it is the cheapest tripod I own, and it operates solely on friction between these plastic parts here. And you've got all these adjustable screws, and that tightens or loosens the two plastic halves, thereby increasing or decreasing the friction, allowing for tilting and panning and whatnot. This is good for still cameras to a degree. It can work, but it's no good for video. Reason is it will bind up and you'll end up with stuttery pans and stuttery tilts and that sort of thing, and you do not want that if you're shooting video. A fluid head, on the other hand, does not rely solely on friction between plastic parts, and thus gives you a nice, smooth motion with no binding up. Now, this Velbon Videomate 607 is one of the cheaper models on the market that actually contains a proper fluid head, but there are other cheaper ones out there now. When I bought this a couple years back, it was the cheapest on the market with a fluid head indeed, and it also went for about 70 bucks then. So the price has gone up slightly, and now it's not the only game in town, but it's still a very good one. Other features of this tripod include the standard quick release plate, a surface level, and feet that can accommodate either indoors or outdoors use. Another thing I like about this is that it's really easy to set up, and it's very stable. That's right, just a couple seconds here, and you can have a fully set up tripod that can hold, as I said in the intro, about 15 pounds. Not bad at all. And the other cool part is that when it's fully extended, actually pretty tall. So for comparison, I'm about 6'1". This hits me right at my eyebrows. So that's actually pretty good, especially considering the camera's going to rest a little bit above that. Not bad. So there's really not much else I need to say about it. I mean, it's a tripod. It does its job and it does it well. And so if you have about 80 bucks to spend and you have a lightweight video rig, nothing too heavy, the Velbon Videomate 607 will do what you need it to do, and it's a very solid choice. I recommend it. Next on the docket, we have this iPad mount from Monoprice.com. And since we're going to be using it anyway, why don't we talk about the Monoprice Boom Microphone Stand at the same time? So this is an iPad mount from Monoprice.com. It's part of their Pro Audio series. It's designed to mount your iPad to a microphone stand. And it actually does that job, well, to a certain degree. There's a couple downsides to this. It's got a lot of fiddly bits here, as you might see. There's a lot of adjustments, and it's designed to basically be able to hold it in any position. Downside is it doesn't exactly do that job. This part right here has a limited range of motion, and so since this doesn't really go up or down, it means that you can only tilt the iPad so much. The other thing here is that you notice on the clamp, yeah, you've got one side that's rounded, the other side is flat, so it doesn't always like to grip a microphone stand that well. This actually works a lot better for desks, to be quite frank. It works really well on desks, it works really well on shelves, things with flat surfaces. But let's see how well it mounts to Monoprice's own microphone stand. Now, I mentioned the Monoprice Boom Microphone Stand briefly last week when I talked about the O-Tray. That's right, this is the mic stand that did not have the standard shaft, the standard 7/8" shaft. You know, that said, that's really not its only drawback. I mean, you know, it's a serviceable mic stand, and so overall, it's really not terrible, but there's just a few tiny annoyances about it. It's got all the same adjustments you would expect. You can adjust the height here. You can adjust the actual boom angle here. there's a little screw here. But a lot of the parts are plastic, a lot of the grips are plastic. It doesn't feel as substantial as something like a Proline stand or any of the really good, you know, but expensive microphone stands out there. It'll do the job in a pinch. It'll do what you need it to do. Why is it loosening on me? But there's just so many small irritating things about it that even for its price, I can't recommend it unless you just happen to need a microphone stand and you don't care how bad it is. I was in that position because I needed more mic stands for podcasting. This just happened to fit that bill. I would steer clear, though, if you are used to good microphone stands. So let's see how the iPad mount mounts to this bad boy, shall we? Now, right now, I'm looking to give it the greatest chance of success, and so I'm mounting it as I'd imagine it is intended, directly to the shaft, not trying to mount it vertically or anything like that. Let's go ahead and get an iPad in here. And so, voila! It's an iPad mount. Seems to work okay. Everything's there as it needs to be. You know, one downside of this iPad mount is that for something that has so many points of adjustment, it's not very adjustable. This is about what I can do with it. I can mount it to a, well, in this case, mic stand. I mean, it does what it says on the tin, I suppose. But if I want to adjust the angle in which the iPad screen is actually readable, I mean, best I can, well, yeah, I mean, I can somewhat adjust it, but it's going to be basically at this angle to read it the entire time. So, you know, there's really not much else I can do with it, and there's no way I can really tilt it down. So it seems like it's primarily designed for the purposes of being able to read music or use some of the music applications on the iPad while you're on stage. You know, things like Jam Up Pro and stuff like that, where you'd be manipulating guitar sounds, you know, using this. If you wanted to use it for, you know, video conferencing or as an alternative kind of mount, since there's not a lot of tripod mounts for an iPad, you know, to use it for video producing, it's not a good solution there, but I don't think that's what it was intended for. So I guess while I'm a little bit disappointed in its lack of adjustability, you know, and even though it says that it's a little bit more adjustable than perhaps it is, for $16 I can't really fault it, you know what I mean? So I would give this a tentative okay if you absolutely have to mount it to a microphone stand and you have no other solution presently and you don't care about its degree of adjustability. But keep in mind it's a bit fiddly to work with, and so you're going to end up doing a lot of screwing around with it to get it where you want it to be. Of course, if you have a music stand, a better solution may be this. Problem solved. Well, that does it for the Cheap Gear Review Things That Hold Other Things Extravaganza Part 2. If you want to check out any of the items mentioned in this episode, click the link below in the description. It will indeed set you free. Until next time, I've been Tim Lyons, reminding you that just because it's cheap doesn't always mean it sucks, though sometimes it does. Well, either way, thanks for watching.